Hello and welcome back to Red Fox Classics, where we're reassembling a 1969 Mark II GT6. Now this car has been off the road since at least 1983, and as you can see it's painted, and we've actually just spent the last couple of weeks getting the running gear in, so it almost can have wheels on it. Well, it can have wheels on it, but it's missing some shocks and things like that, but you know, details. And it's time to build the engine, which is just down in front of me. Now this has just come back from being machined. Crank had to be ground, cylinders had to be bored. It was worn out. I've got a new cam. I don't think it had been. I think this car was quite high mileage, and the engine would support that. The condition of the engine, it looked like it had just been run into the ground. Which, I mean, it was at the end of its lifespan. It hit 13 years on the road, and it rotted away. It had been repaired. The engine was worn out. You know, it was an old car. And now it's an even older car, but you know, we're going to get it going again. So let's get started on building the short engine. So I've just been doing plenty of cleaning out of all the oil ways. Having to stick the brake cleaner with the straw in and blast it all out, because having had the laser cleaning on the block, I think this is why, there was lots and lots of little very fine black particles everywhere. Obviously they want to come out, and I'm just going to go around and give everything a blow through before putting in oil gallery plugs and probably the what do you call it, oil pressure relief valve. Then flip it over and put the cam in. So this is a new camshaft. I went to Newman again because I was quite pleased with how everything went last time buying the Spitfire camshaft. But I was originally going for a stock one, but in the end they found they had a grind profile already for stock, but slightly higher lift, so I went with that. I didn't really want to get into complicated tuning, or you can't get as many needle profiles for the Stromberg carbs, and I didn't want to modify too much on this engine. Which is why I didn't want to go too different on the cam. So it's marked the same, this TR inline 6, or Triumph inline 6 273C375. So I'll give it a bit of a wipe down. I mean, they do stamp the identity on the end, you can't see. So I think what I'm going to do is pop this in. Just doing that dry almost all the way.
and then I can keep the mess of assembly lube inside the block rather than all over my hands. Part number 1 in. Now the keeper doesn't properly go on yet, but I'm going to find it and put it in place so just so it doesn't fall out. So I've just been cleaning up the crank because it was waxed. After it had been machined, it was waxed to keep it from rusting, so I've been cleaning that off. And I've got to get the what's it called? Pilot bushing out of there. And what I've found is an easy way of doing this is yeah, that is my drain plug tab, which is a 1/4 NPT, and that fits in quite nicely and has, at least in the past, just let me wind it out on that. That's not worked this time. Got quite bottomed out there. Pop the little bolt in the bottom, start and push against. Push against that and wind it out. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to have a blow through all the oil ways. They're drilled kind of, there's an angle through the casting, so that one, for example, goes like through there to here. And then get the bearings in the caps. So I've also given these, this is again the recommendation of the engineering place I use, to take a bit of emery paper and clean back these surfaces so there's nothing that's going to sit under the bearing and cause a high spot. I've done that in both the caps and the bits in the block. So they're 10 under, should be 10 under, yep. And they're all identical. We've got a tab, which lines up with the tab in there, and they should just push in like that. The oil hole is for in the block where we actually have the oil passage. But to stop you, well, I guess because it's easy to manufacture, but also stop you mixing them up, you get a hole in all of them. So I'll get those fitted, and I'll get the crank in the block. As you can probably just about see, there's a hole there, and that's where our oil way goes, and obviously there's a hole in the bearing to match. The caps all have numbers on them, as does the block. A bit easier than the 4 cylinders, because the 4 cylinders are just some sort of random marking where I punch them to pick up. And you line up the number and the orientation of the number. You can also tell by the tabs, because they match position as well, or opposite positions. And before the fourth cap goes on, I'm going to get the thrust washers in, and they go that way round because they are the bearing surfaces against the crank. It should be a case of pop them on like that and turn them in. The number 4 cap is bigger than the others because it's keeping the thrust washers in place. It's about the bearing being the same size. Now that's all torqued down, so I'm going to check the end float. It's actually in the right area. I didn't want to go. That's all the way back. And all the way forward, that's 23, so 0.23 millimeters. So zoom in. .25 millimeters. That I think is over because that's approximately 10 thou, and I think this needs to be 6 to 8. 4 to 8 thou. 0.1, 0.2 mil. So I'll take the rear cap off, change one of the thrust washers for a 5 thou over, and see how we go. Right, so that's one of those swapped out for 5 over size. 0. And that's putting us at 0.15 millimeters, which is going to be about 7 thou. We were right, we were 0.1 to 0.2 millimeters we could be, we're right in the middle, so that's good. Right, next thing is going to be to deal with pistons. Well, before we get on to pistons, I've got a bit of a con rod story. So, this is my original number 2 rod, and when I took it out of the engine, or took the piston off, the little end bush fell out, and you can see in here that it's damaged. And when I had a chat with the guys at the engine place, they thought it probably was never right to begin with. So anyway, that rod's junk. And I was trying to find some spare rods without a great deal of success, because the ones more easily available are these with a hole here, because these are from a later engine. All of the, I think from the GK and FH engines, I think, the Spitfire Mark IV and Herald 1360, later 1360s, all the way through to the end of the 6-cylinder engine production and 4-cylinder, had the same shape of rods, but at some point this was added as a stress reliever. Anyway, you can't mix and match them. Now, then I was given a set of these rods, thanks Tim, but it turns out that when I took them apart, none of the caps were on the matching rods, which was a bit of a, something wrong here. And I was able to go through them all, match up everything, except for I had 2 number 1 rods and 1 number 3 cap. So I only had to set 5 of those in the end. so I couldn't use them. However, then I found an older set on eBay, or 3 of them. Now, they look like they've been stored in a swamp. I mean, you can see the pitting on that one. I mean, I don't know why somebody sold me that. That should have gone straight in the bin. However, out of those, there was one that was good enough to be used. So I did indeed end up with a full set. And because one was a random rod, that, you know, it was the only one I was able to find, they had to be balanced. So you can see, got a bit missing there. And some of them quite heavily so they've gone all the way around the top. And this is the replacement number 2, so I mean, it's had the most off, so it was clearly heavier, quite a bit heavier than the ones I started with. But as these are balanced, fully balanced, end-to-end balanced, I'm going to make sure that my pistons are too. So pistons don't appear to be directional, they don't have any forward markings on them, and they do look symmetrical. So I'm going to go through, open everything, weigh each piston, weigh each wrist pin, and match them up as well as I can, and then we get the closest matching weights we can, and then we'll see where we are. I might consider going a bit further and shaving a bit off the insides if I need to. Well, need to, it's a strong word, but I'm going to consider doing that. Anyway, I'll get opening and weighing, and then we'll see what we got to. Okay, so I've gone through, weighed all my pistons and pins, swapped them round till I got the best combinations, weight-wise. Then I even weighed the circlips and mixed them around as well. I'm now at this is my heaviest at 446.23, and this is my lightest at 445.38. So, given the rest of them are actually closer to 446, I'm going to leave everything alone, because within 1 gram is actually pretty good. And I don't want to get into shaving stuff off the pistons, given they're already. This is pretty decent. Factory spec is about 7 grams within a set variation, so it's like actually 4 drams, I think. Works out at 7 grams. These are, I have checked them. As far as I measure, they're all exactly the same weight. All coming out at 7 grams. I mean, they should be, given I've had a professional place deal with them. But if there was any variation, I would have mixed up the pistons and rods, but as it is, it doesn't matter. They can just go on. I can just pull one out of the box and put a piston on it and call it good. So, that's going to be the next job. So, just now I've been measuring my piston rings. This set is marked with the top lettering, or word. They sometimes differ. This is the first ring, and I mean, on the face of it, it doesn't actually look like it differs top to bottom. No, it does. It's a chamfer on this top edge, and the second ring has a step, so it's definitely a different shape. Anyway, what you do here, or what I do, is put the ring in the cylinder. Take a piston, push it down, and I tend to push it down to the first groove so that you're able to go around and actually visualise that you pushed it to the same depth all the way around, because you can see that the edge of the block and the edge of that piston ring groove line up, and then use some feeler gauges to measure the gap. And that's a tight 11. 12 will go in. 13 more really. And we're looking for between 8 and 13 thou. Now I have measured them all. I've got them all laid out and labelled. So you notice the 5 and the 1 of the second rings here. I've got crossed out measurements, and that's because when I did the one I chose 5, or assigned to 5 originally, I was getting 14 thou, which is over spec. So I tried swapping it with 1, which was at 11 thou clearance in cylinder 1, and was able to get some that were within tolerance. And just before they get fitted, what I'll be doing is taking a small file and just very gently taking that, any burr or any sharpness off that corner. This was the recommendation from the engineering guys I use. As I say, they've stripped many an engine in the past and found that there's a groove worn down the side of the cylinders by the sharp edges of the piston ring. So I've got rod number 1 and the rings and the pistons and piston, and given them a clean down. So we can put it together. First of all, I'm going to put this oil ring on, and I'm going to be aiming to get it below its groove. So there. Then, well, this is the oil scraper retaining ring or something, whatever. Then this goes on, and you can see we've got our colours there. We're going to have them overlapping. So I will be doing it. We're checking the instructions. Right, good to check. Those are supposed to not overlap, so when we've got them fitted, we should see both colours. Anyway, this has got to go in the big groove. So you can see there, we've got a green and red. Well, if you can see greens and reds, then we'll slip that lower ring in around. Try to. Oh dear, it's gone over the top. Well, slipped. So they're not overlapped. They are overlapped, as they shouldn't be. Also leave the field to do anything about it. Okay, so, I slipped again. This is going to be fun, isn't it? If we get the other ring in, it'll be easier. Just double checking, these are not marked, not directional. Anyway, so let's slipped again. Finally. Alright. Got the lower thin ring in, the actual scraper ring and the top ring in, and they are in their grooves. The centre one has our two colours showing so that we can see that the ends are not overlapping, and the openings in the rings are offset from one another. So that's good. Next, ring 2, top is at the top. Ring 1, again, top at the top. And well, start with make sure the grooves are offset. These pistons, we decided, I'm just double checking, don't have any direction markings. So let's just put them all together the same way around so that the 30 thou marking is pointing towards our numbering marking. Actually, give that bit of a lubricant before put it in. You get the idea. And a circlip in each side, and that's one for us ready to go in. Well, almost ready for us to almost ready to go in. We need some bearings. These there should be 10. No, there's still 10.0, and it does say that on the bearings. It also says County on the bearings that are branded King on the packet. I thought they were different. Clearly not. Right, so the machinists, or the engine rebuilder guys, have done. We talked about scuffing the bearing surface or cleaning up the bearing mating surfaces, and they've already done that. So that's nice and clean, and this should just pop in there. With our tab lined up with the notch, and the same here. So let's come back to the block. Our cylinder number 1 further wiped down just to check there's nothing hiding in there. Just checking our direction of our pistons. So we don't have an arrow marking, but we do have if our front is to the left, our rod's pointing that way. So in my case, the 30 thou is going towards the side of the block without the camshaft. 30 thou marking rather. So some engine oil in cylinder. Be supported. Get the piston ring compressor out of the box of tools I don't use very much. So those are offset. Have to do this up. It doesn't feel like catching anything. Okay. Yeah. So just giving that a that's interesting. It's giving the ring compressor a tap so that it's sitting flat. It doesn't want to do it completely. And let's just see how we go. And check that crank pin is somewhere near the bottom. Yep. Piston in. And to get them up to meet. Get some lubricant on. Yep. Quick turn of the crank to get that in. Then at the cap the right way round. So the side that's numbered is over here. This is our number. And you can also see we've got the shape. You see, yeah. The different shapes of the two ends of the cap. So that and that match up. Right, all in, 5 to go. Obviously they're just done up, not torqued, but it's a good first step. Keep spotting a little bit more. It needs a little bit more of this wax that needs wiping off. Right, anyway, I'll keep going, get them in. So, we have some pistons in. As you might notice, not 6. And that's because I made an expensive mistake. I managed to snap one of the rings for number 2 when trying to install it. So I've had to order another set of rings because you can't get them not in sets, which is quite irritating. Both because it means I had to spend more money and also because I can't keep going as far as I really wanted to. But what I can do, put this rear seal plate in and put the front seal in. I'll probably put the oil pump in as well, and then everything else about the bottom end is done. And then the only thing that I need to do when I get the last piston ring is torque down these conrod caps and obviously install number 2 piston. And then the sump will be able to go on and turn it over and do topside stuff. So as I said, despite the missing piston, I can still do a couple of bits. I've got the rearmost seal in. We did got that housing ready quite a while back. When we actually stripped the engine. Now I've got this to go in here. I did buy a milled steel block to go in this space because I've never stripped an engine where the aluminium one's been any good so far. Well, actually I bought this ages ago because I decided it was going to go in here. Anyway, the alley block is not the worst, but it's still not perfect, and I've got this going. I've dug in my gasket set and found the gaskets for here. And they seem to be this funny sort of shape to accommodate the actual shape of the aluminium block, but it's completely pointless with what I've got, but never mind. That one is too wide, whichever way I put it. Just lopped a little bit off the edge, that'll do. Around. Slip in there. Now I'm going to get this just so the screws will hold it in place. And then we've got to make sure it's lined up with this front face. And that's because this is where one of the places where these engines have a habit of leaking from, because if this doesn't line up nicely, then your front engine plate is not going to sit flat against the front of the engine. And so the gasket that goes on it is not going to sit flat either. It's not, like, that is not quite. So then we've got bits of wood sticking here. And split that down. It's just about the right width. It could be a little off. Just skim off what remains with a nice sharp wood chisel. The same to those gaskets on the front as well. Yeah, and then put the front plate on too, can't I? I'm just going to check myself on that in case I'm forgetting something I should be fitting. So, I've thought about what I can still do with the piston missing. And obviously I can get the front engine plate on, so I've done that. And I can get the camshaft keeper on and measure the end float. So 0 all the way out is 0.19 millimeters, which is nice because the spec is 0.1 to 0.2 millimeters in here. So that's fine. Let's get that torqued. That one is one I want to be sure of. It's 18 to 20. It's going to be 240 inch-pounds. And that shouldn't change anything, but let's just check again. Down to 0.15 millimeters, so it did change something, and for the better. So with those done, I can look at my timing sprocket alignment, because if I need to buy some shims, because I have no shims for this tool, I can do that, and I'm already waiting. Well, I did get this second hand, but I don't really know why it's so disgusting looking. So I'm going to give that clean before I put it anywhere near the engine. So this will be nicer since it doesn't appear to actually, I know it has been opened. It's been opened and stored in a barn or something. Right. Anyway, we've got to put these both on and then determine that the teeth are actually going to be in the same plane. And the way you do that is by shimming out this sprocket so that it lines up with the one on the cam. So I'll go and clean these, and we'll get them fitted up. Well, that's both those gears on. I'm looking for the teeth being in the same plane, and they already are. So I guess this crank was ground in such a way that we didn't need any shims. Oh, it's going to come off. Which is... oh. Means at least I don't have to buy them. So my whole set of new rings came. So, due to that very expensive mistake. And we have 6 of them engine once again. Turns over. So, I'll get the oil pump on, and get the sump sat on with a couple of bolts, and then go and look at the timing. So also yesterday I made myself this, which is the old sprocket from this engine, and a sacrificial socket. And I found a socket that was the right size that my existing degree wheel was going to fit on it. Or rather, I deliberately sought out the socket that was the right size. So that will be the next job, is to actually get the timing done. And that will be the short engine complete. Well, there's the oil pump. It's clearly been just bashing around in its box for some time, because this has been all scratched and dented by the rotor hitting it. So I'm going to give that a flat down on a piece of glass with some sandpaper. It probably wanted doing anyway, because they don't tend to be all that flat. We'll get that installed. So, pump's in, and tolerance was actually pretty good, which is nice. Except for that, the lid having been bashed, or whatever that bit, you kind of call that bit. So, we can stick this on for the moment. And then flip it over and have a look at the timing. So now we've got a collection of stuff here. So what all this is about is, in order to time the engine, we need to be able to find top dead centre, and we also need to be able to find the peak of the cam lobes, which is like cam top dead centre. So I've been adapting my piston stop plate that I made for the Helden Spitfire, and that is apparently not the right one. So this plate is just a piston stop, or this section. We're sticking a bit of a bolt down into the bore, so the piston can't go all the way up, so we can go from, in effect, the position at almost top dead centre and then come the other way, and that lets us find the middle of the stroke. These two are for our cam, so these are some spare tappets, and then go in here. And I have some old push rods with washers welded to them, so they'll go in there and get a spring over them. I think the spacing is this good enough, correct enough. Yeah. So now when the cam turns, these are going to go up and down. And I don't know if they're short enough bolts, but what I do have is a great big pile of piston wrist pins, which are doing the job of being spacers here. So now we turn the cam, yep. We got them down, and we set up. Okay, we've had a short interlude. Different car for the moment. I've also been away for work for a little bit, so I haven't been able to do anything for the last day or so. Just a water pump change on here for the NOS one I've had kicking around. It might 20th of June 1977. It might not last, but then the modern ones I bought haven't lasted. I put the one that was on here on in May 2022, and it's now March 26, and it's been leaking slowly for about a year anyway. I also did a run through of the timing to make sure I remember what I was doing, and I got it right first go, so I'm not going to undo it just in order to film it, but I will run through and we'll check it to make sure it really is correct. Because the basics of what you have to do is you have to find top dead centre of number 1, and then you have to find, in effect, the top dead centre of the inlet cam lobe for number 1. And then on the vast majority of Triumph 4 and 6 cylinder cams, or at least the SC and straight 6, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder engines, with that cam at its topmost point, the cylinder needs to be at 110 degrees after top dead centre. So you set the cam in the, figure out where your wheel should be so that it's correct for the crank and the piston. Disconnect your cam, rotate the crank until it's the right point, and then connect everything up. And there's these offset sets of holes to try and get you exactly the right place. Anyway, we'll do a bit of checking, and that can dry in the sun. So let's do these checks. If I put in my piston stop, now if I head towards 0, it should stop. Yep, and it stopped at 27.5 after top dead centre. So if I go in the other direction, we are at 27.5 before top dead centre. So that does mean the 0 is in the right position. So now, if we take that out, I'm watching my dial gauge, so my cam going up. There we go. So if we get to 110, after top dead centre, my dial gauge is currently reading 0, which is it should be. And now again, if I move, and this time I'm watching the dial gauge, I'm going to go all the way around
back to 0 again on the dial gauge. And passed it several times. So that has moved us from 110 to 153. Oh, has it? Where are we? Let's stop dead centre. Stop dead centre is here. Yes, 100 to 153 after top dead centre. So now if I go backwards, let's make it 0 again. Shows 110. Go back. Okay, again at getting to my 0 point, and I've forgotten the number I just said, but we are now at 68, no 67, so that is 43 degrees difference. Go back, 43 degrees difference, I can remember that. 43 degrees difference, and here we have 110 to 50, 43 degrees difference. Okay, so we are dead on, which is nice. Which means I don't do anything else. Doesn't mean I need to find this tab washer, get that fully bolted on, then I can put the oil thrower, which I forgot. I had to take the cover off again when I did the Spitfire. Right, while we're talking about it, let's go and get the oil thrower. So I need to get the chain tensioner on, or chain tensioner in the cover and the cover on. I also need to figure out, some of these were studs. Those are all going to be the short cheese-headed screws. I think that one as well, because the bearing's right behind it, bearing cap's right behind it. Also, there's some studs somewhere, so figure that out. It's those two. Yeah, so that one and that one are through holes. That one might be two. So that one is. I thought there were only two. Anyway, maybe it's different for the 4 cylinders, or I just can't remember. Anyway, so we'll have to get some copper washers out. But let's get the tensioner in the cover. So I've just got a seal popped in. A new tensioner here. And you can see, compared with the old one, this is for the double row, this is for the single row, which is that bit wider. It goes in there. With that in there with a washer either side. Now they supply these very large washers, and I don't think they fit last time. No. It's another case of, we need a washer, well that'll do. So, I've got the old one, which should fit. Yeah, anyway, so now I need to get a tiny little pin in there, which is not too difficult. but then encouraging it to split can be. No, I don't do that yet because I need that washer in. No, the comparatively easy one. So I'm getting a little bit into, I'm not quite sure what's right here, because the GT6 part catalogue isn't very clear, and the TR6 one suggests the bolts are a lot longer than I thought they were. But I'm just going to put stuff in. I've measured all the depths of the holes, and most of them will fit what the later TR6 catalogue is asking for, so I'll use them. So that's 7/8 length in most of them. Got 5 of these panhead screws, little ones. Obviously they're just going into this thin bit of metal. I think originally those 2 were panhead, but now we're putting them into a steel block with less risk of tearing it apart. And yeah, the studs up there. So we'll just do some stuff. So I mean, as long as we're not bottoming out, it's not really a problem. I think because we've got this extra space here, I might not have to. I might just be able to do this with my fingers rather than. There we go. Yep. Because you can also stick a like coat hanger or something in there to hold the tensioner. But I've got it. Because there's an insert now that goes in here. So I had a bit of an issue with the one right here. The plate was stripped. So I tried to drill and tap it to M8, that didn't work. So I've ended up having to put helicoil in. And this one does seem to have only had thread in the plate rather than the block. So now it's got helicoil in, but the helicoil is actually going between the block and the engine plate because I couldn't manage to get it any different, which is not ideal, but it will keep the cover on. And hopefully this engine doesn't have to come apart again. We'll see. Maybe future me will be annoyed at myself. Right, now there's the sleeve thing. I did think possibly mine was cleanable, but it was scored, so I thought we'd better off on a new one. Oh, that would run the other way around, otherwise the fan belt would be really awkward to be on. It's already dusty. That's our fan holder thing. And that will probably have to be done up fully later. What it should let us do is turn the engine when it gets tight enough. There we go. The marker's on top dead centre, and it would certainly appear that we're on top dead centre. In fact, we can check this with piston stop as well, can't we? Because, see, if we turn it to one of our markings. We've got 16 after top dead centre. Screw the piston stop in down while it's matching. One more way around. This should now stop us on 16 before top dead centre, and it does. So time marks are correct. Cool, so that gives us complete short engine.
And with the short engine complete, so is this video. Next, we're going to build up the head. At the moment, I've just gone and painted around the upper edge of the sump, the bit where the gasket sits, because I noticed when I had it sat on, there was a lot of bare metal showing, which would immediately go rusty and look a mess. So just put a bit of paint on that. But then we'll get the sump on, turn the engine over for the final time, and get the head built. And then it'll be time to start thinking about putting it into the car. Well, actually, I'm going to have to build an overdrive first. So, yeah, gotta figure that one out, because I've not done an overdrive before. But I'm at the point where I'm not paying the 600 quid to have it professionally done. I mean, I'm sure they do an awesome job, because the overdrive repair services in Sheffield, don't they? Are ex-Laycock people. But it's a lot of money, and it's probably gone up since then. So, I'll have to figure an overdrive out. Anyway, that's all coming next. If you want to see the head build up and me struggle through an overdrive, then make sure you're subscribed, because then you'll find out when those episodes appear. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.
So I can't quite read this, but there's some yellow paint and lettering. And I know they did this on earlier, like TR blocks, to mark them up. Didn't know about the GT6, but we've got something there.